Hello, everybody. This is Bill McKibben from Third Act. What an honor to get to join this panel, and an honor, first of all, just to be able to say to the Gray Panthers that when we started Third Act a couple of years ago, Maggie Kuhn and all the work that she had done was one of our inspirations. I'm glad that we're following in those footsteps. We're now about 80,000 volunteers strong with working groups in most of the states in the country. 600 or 700 of us went to jail this summer outside Citibank in New York City. We're producing hundreds of thousands of postcards a week now for the election. Into the swing states, we're doing what we can. If there was one thing that really motivated us, it was this commitment around climate change. I've worked on that my whole life. I wrote the first book about what we now call climate change, what we then called the greenhouse effect back in 1989. Um, and it's been terrible watching the warnings that we were giving turn into the facts of the moment: the melting ice caps, the rising oceans, the burning forests. Um, that's been terrible. But what's been great is to watch the rise of the movements that are taking them on. I've worked my whole life, volunteered in those movements. I founded with 7 college students a group called 350.org that became the first big global grassroots climate campaign. And mostly I've been working with youth. Those college kids inspired many, many others to take on, for instance, this fossil fuel divestment campaign that's now at $40 trillion in endowments and portfolios divested, the biggest anti-corporate campaign of its kind. But the biggest harvest from that fight were the thousands of college students on one campus after another who learned how to do what they were doing. And when they graduated, went on to form the Sunrise movement that brought us the Green New Deal. And then, of course, there's wonderkind like Greta and all the other thousands of Gretas around the planet. The kids are doing their thing, which is as it should be, since I'll be dead before the absolute worst of all of this kicks in. But wonderful as that is, um, I heard too many people my age saying, oh, it's up to the next generation to solve this problem, which seemed both unfair and impractical. Impractical because kids by themselves lack the structural power to make change on the scale we need in the time that we have. Who has structural power? If you've reached the age when you have hair coming out your ears, then you have structural power coming out your ears. There are 70 million of us over the age of 60. We all vote. There's no known way to stop old people from voting. And we ended up with most of the country's financial assets. So if we're going to take on Wall Street and Washington, then we need people with hairlines like mine. And that's why it's been so much fun to watch this massive effort grow, this massive effort in collaboration with young people. Um, the very first demonstration we did, in fact, was because Fridays for the Future, the kind of American offshoot of Greta's movement, asked for help taking on Citi and Chase and Wells Fargo and Bank of America, the 4 big banks that are the biggest lenders to the fossil fuel industry. And they said, we want to do something about these guys because the scientists have clearly told them to stop lending this money. We'd like to do it, but we don't even have checking accounts. Can you help? And we said, sure. And I remember the first demonstration we were at. There were 200 or 300 high school kids there because there's always high school kids. They know just what they're staring down the barrel of. And they were somewhat sprier, so they were at the head of the march. But at the back of the march, there was a whole bunch of us from this nascent third act with a big banner that said fossils against fossil fuels. That seemed the right approach, and we've tried to keep it at least a little lighthearted. We had 100 actions simultaneously in 100 cities in the spring against these banks, and um, because we're reached the age where sitting in on the sidewalk for 3 or 4 hours is less appealing than it might once have been. We went to the Goodwill store. We got every rocking chair we could find, and that's what we used to shut down those banks. The Times the next day called it the rocking chair rebellion. So the point we've been making is that we have a deep, deep reason in terms of legacy to be taking on this climate fight in collaboration with young people. The polling shows that the two groups who really care about climate change are people under 25 and people over 60. And together, I think we're going to be a potent combination to keep pushing for more action. Um, so many thanks to all of you who are all involved in this work.